Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast, and you know the drill by now. I'm going to kick the ball over to John, Randall, and I. We got all three of us in the house this week for a little bit of video games chit-chat. Kind of took out a few different snippets of conversation. We talk a little Luigi's Mansion, which I was playing recently, Luigi's Mansion 3, that is, with my nephew, but we spin off of that and talk a little GameCube controllers and PS4 controllers, and then spinning off of that, Randall talks a little bit about what she's going to talk about on a proper episode coming up here, but his new light guns, I think they're called the Game or G-Aim. We'll get into that, but it's like G apostrophe aim apostrophe E. And yeah, we talk a little bit more, just random hardware goodies from there. And then one more little chunk of conversation. We talk a little bit about some of the games that I've been getting in the mail lately, whether for Switch or PS5, which I've been a little bit disappointed with. I've just been ordering them online, and then they've been coming with the labels all out of whack, or with the label pushed up a little bit above the spine. Not any of the ones that I had received at the time when we were talking about it, but I've now received a few more where the labels kind of pushed up above the protective outer layer of the case, and then it gets once the case gets closed, the label then rips on the corners. It's just super annoying. I'm trying to buy a brand new game thinking it's going to be brand new, and yeah, not necessarily getting that. So no big deal. I've just been returning them and having to track them down at the actual store, but a little bit of an inconvenience. But yeah, as always, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I've been playing before I kick it over to John, Randall, and I here. And yeah, I don't feel like I've given enough love to the Capcom Arcade Stadium collections that I scooped up recently. I talked about the 1940 series of games on the podcast recently, and in particular, I've been really huge on the shoot 'em ups, which are a little bit more prominent in the Volume 1 collection. The second collection of games, or Volume 2, whatever you want to call it, is definitely, I feel like it leans a little bit more into the fighting games, which are great and everything. I just don't tend to have anyone to play with. I'm playing a lot of single-player games. I think there is online play with some of this Capcom Arcade Stadium stuff, or at least there's online leaderboards. I should, before I get too ahead of myself, I don't know if you can sync up and play online or anything, but nonetheless, I've been having just an absolute blast with these games. And like I said, yeah, just really, really leaning into the shooters. And I guess I'll start with one of the shooters that is in the Volume 2 collection. And like I said, there really aren't too many of them, but it's called Eco Fighters. And I really, really love this game. It's just a side-scrolling, horizontal, not quite bullet hell shoot 'em up, but almost. And then I don't know how this one controlled in the arcades, but it feels like it's actually a twin stick shooter, in the sense that you have your regular ship that you just pilot and control, and then you have this arm that kind of extends off of that you can pick up different power-ups for your arm throughout the progression of the campaign or whatever. But basically you can fire at all times, and then you can also hold down that same button to charge up your arm attack, and the default one is just kind of a big, almost like a Mega Man, Mega Blaster kind of projectile or whatever, but you can get this spinning, it's almost like this spike ball, almost like a giant mace or something like that. There's quite a few different ones, and then yeah, you can use the right stick to kind of control that arm all the way around you to aim at enemies that are coming from behind. It's just a nice little twist to the traditional horizontal scrolling shooter that really isn't doing anything all that different, but just giving you that little bit of extra control with that twin stick. Or you can even use the shoulder buttons to tweak the arm clockwise or counterclockwise, but I feel like it works just a little bit better, or at least you can whip that arm around a little more quickly if you're using the right stick. And then over to the Volume 1 collection, there's another game that's a little bit earlier than Eco Fighters called Forgotten Worlds that uses that same kind of control scheme, that twin stick shooter. This one for sure has up to 2 players, and you just control a little bit differently. You control an actual human being, or some kind of, I don't know if you're a robot or something like that, but I think you're just some kind of almost I don't know, you just look like a Contra character or something like that, and you're just flying through these levels. You get a few different power-ups. It's a little bit older of a game. I think it's from 1990 or maybe even the late 80s, so it's not as flashy or as memorable as Eco Fighters. That one, just instantly the pixel art and the music and everything is just jumping off the screen, at least for me, where Forgotten Worlds is oh, this is a little bit to me, just felt oh, this feels a little bit ahead of its time, but it's not necessarily doing anything, all that original. And neither of them are for that matter, but just a couple of cool shoot 'em ups. And yeah, like I said, none of these are really doing anything all that original. They're just like a super solid and really fun shoot 'em ups. And yeah, one more that's I guess two more that I want to mention that I've been really into. Another one's called Progear, and this one's actually developed by Cave, who are pretty infamous for their bullet hell shooters, or pretty famous, I should say, not infamous. Infamous in the sense that they're extremely difficult typically, and no different here with Progear, although I think I've read that this one's a little bit on the easier side for their games, but still, it's just like a super crazy, super flashy pixel art bullet hell shooter scrolling horizontally. I guess all these except the last one I'm going to mention are horizontally scrolling shooters, but yeah, Progear just has like a really great, like, I don't know if it's 32-bit pixel art or whatever, but it just has like a little extra sense of depth. There's like a little bit of like a 3D-ness to the pixel art, and you just play as like these kids that are piloting these different planes, and you could pick from like one of, I think, 3 different ships, or maybe 2 different ships, and then 3 different gunners, and then there's like a few different fire types. Like if you hold down the one button, it's kind of like a homing attack that just, gravitates towards any enemies on the screen, but if you hold down, or if you keep rapidly tapping, it's just like a regular shot. There's just all these little nuances to all these different games, and the scoring system is pretty crazy on this one. Like any projectiles that are within the enemy's explosion turn into these like gems or diamonds or coins or whatever that you can, sprint forward and pick up, or you can let go of the fire button and it'll kind of like vacuum them all towards your ship. Like there's just like a lot of little nuances to this game that I'm still figuring out. I by no means am a whiz at any of these games, but what I've been doing, I think I mentioned on the podcast before, I've just been like pumping a digital dollar worth of quarters into the machine. So 4 credits and just seeing how far I can get, and, calling that a run, if you will. But yeah, Progear is just really, really cool stuff, and cool to see a game from Cave in the Capcom collection here. Obviously, it was published by them. And then the last game that I wanted to give a shout out to here is called Giga from the Capcom Arcade Stadium collections. This one, I believe, is in Volume 1 as well. And it was also on the Dreamcast, but this is the only one of the games I'm going to mention here that's like a vertically scrolling shooter where you're, flying up towards the top of the screen. And the main gimmick with this one here, you have your like, regular rapid shot or whatever, firepower between, I think there's 3 or maybe even 4 different ships you can pick from on this one, that all have slightly different, fire types, and then you can pick up power-ups to increase your firepower and everything like that. And then the other gimmick with this one is that you can hold down, you might have bombs, I actually can't remember, but you don't outside of the bombs, or maybe even just instead of the bombs. I can't, like I said, I can't remember, but you have this like kind of like I don't know, you can just hold down the fire button and like charge up this like shield that like bubbles up around you for maybe like a 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds, and it'll like reflect back almost like a mirror or whatever, or a bubble. It will reflect back like all the enemy projectiles back, towards them, or at least get them out of harm's way. And it's just like a really, really addictive, like that risk reward, knowing exactly when to charge up and release to, launch the projectiles out of the way. But obviously when you're charging, you can't be firing, so you got to like really kind of juggle, okay, do I have enough time to fully charge to launch this bubble reflection attack or whatever to get these projectiles out of my way before it's too late, because it can definitely, I feel like almost every time I try it, I'm cutting it just a little too close, even when I'm successful. So just a bunch of really great shoot 'em ups in this collection. But even if you're into like beat 'em ups, both the Volume 1 and Volume 2, whatever kind of games you're into, if you like old school arcade games, these are really, really fun. And I always, I think I mentioned when I talked about the 1940 games, or maybe when I've briefly mentioned some of these on the podcast, I know I've mentioned it to the guys at least, but pumping that like, digital dollar into the machine and just setting that kind of virtual limit on my self with these arcade games is really helping the cause. Because a lot of times I'm just like, okay, I can just infinitely pump quarters into this or pump credits into here. Like I can just keep playing forever. It kind of like, and then I just start spamming the bombs, because you get a new set of bombs every time that you, start up a new set of credits or start up a new credit. So it can be a little bit, I don't know. I've just found that like limiting myself to this dollar, I mean, I might push it on some cases to just see a game all the way through if I'm really having fun and knowing that there's no chance I'm going to beat it on that single dollar. I might push it a little bit. But it's just been a blast to like have that kind of cap on these games as opposed to just kind of playing them. I just felt like I never appreciated them fully when just playing them kind of aimlessly with infinite credits. So it's been really fun to go back and check these out, or even check some of these out for the first time in some cases, with that kind of mindset or that kind of frame of reference or whatever. And then I guess one more game that I just want to give a quick shout out to, or maybe even not quite a shout out, but I did play all the way through the Panzer Dragoon remake, which we've talked about on the podcast a few times before. I know I've at least talked about it, and I think Randall did as well. And for whatever reason, I think I was listening to a podcast that talked about it, and then I went down a rabbit hole. There's this YouTube channel called I Finished a Video Game that has like a 4.5 or 4+ hour video about the entire Panzer Dragoon series. And I think I watched that after I played through the game. I can't remember which order I did that in. But nonetheless, yeah, I played through the entire game. There's only 6 levels in the game. And to the best of my knowledge, this remake must be quite a bit easier than the original, at least in the sense of just the, I don't know, but I've always heard that this series and this game in particular is pretty difficult, and I had pretty much no trouble. I died, I think, on 2 of the levels, and as you play through, you earn credits by like shooting down a certain percentage of enemies on a given stage, or you get like a score at the end of the stage, and you might earn more credits. And I definitely ended with far more than I began with. I think you start with 4 or 5, or maybe it's just 3, but I started earning either 2 or 1 basically at the end of each stage. But yeah, the remake it's fun and it's solid and everything, but I feel like it's just that. Like, I think we talked about it when I brought these up, or when I brought it up last on the podcast, and I think they did finally confirm that they are still working on the Panzer Dragoon's Y, or the sequel, or I guess it's a prequel, but the second game in the series. They're working on that remake still, but they just feel like, they look okay, but they just look like almost like up-res, like PS2 or Xbox era games, like a little bit nicer than that, but they just like lack a little bit of the soul and the life and the heart or whatever that those Sega Saturn games had, by pushing the limitations of what that console could really do. They really just kind of like had an otherworldly quality to those environments and like the scenery, and just there's just something missing in this remake that it's not bad, it plays fine, and I had a good time ripping through it, and I'm glad I saw the game through, but at the same time it definitely is missing whatever those original Sega Saturn games had. So I'm sure I'll scoop up the ZY remake, but I'm very grateful that I at least have the first 2 on the original Sega Saturn. I don't know if I'll ever get around to tracking down a copy of Saga like Randall has, because that thing is just through the roof these days. But it does, when they showed off some of the stuff in that YouTube video I was watching, I was like, man, this game looks really interesting. It sounded interesting when Randall was talking about it, but really getting to see a lot more about it in that video, I was like, whoa, this game was really doing something super different for, a traditional JRPG, or I guess obviously a very untraditional JRPG. But I feel like I've done more than enough rambling here. I meant to keep this short and sweet since we got a little bit of a meatier chunk of conversation coming up, or a few chunks of conversation coming up between Randall, John, and I. But yeah, without further ado, I think I'll kick it over to that chunk of conversation. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care. The other thing that I could talk about, just today, I went over to help my parents babysit my nephew and my niece. Mm-hmm. And I played a bunch of Luigi's Mansion 3 with my nephew.
Nice.
And it was so fucking fun, man. And he loves it.
Nice.
It was he just kept he kept wanting to switch between who was playing as Luigi and Gooigi. But when you're Gooigi, you can shoot the plunger at Luigi, and it hits him in the head, and it sticks on his head.
Sure.
And, Luigi makes a silly face. So half the game was literally just him chasing me around and trying to shoot me with the plunger.
Yeah, that's fair.
And dying laughing every time that it happened. It was so funny.
Incredible.
And then after that, we found a flashlight in the house, and we were playing Luigi's Mansion around the house, walking around oh, here's a ghost. It was a blast, man. It was so much fun.
Nice.
That's great.
So I could talk about that, but I could also save that for save it for the cast and talk about it in an intro or something too.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that because I was like, Randall talked about playing the original with Fiona. So for whatever it's worth, Randall, I definitely recommend checking it out because that co-op mode is awesome.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a really
I
good
kind of
point.
did too. There was a podcast I was listening to where a guy was talking about playing it with his son, and I was like, oh man, yeah, I didn't realize that like that Luigi mechanic was like just a straight up co-op mode.
Yeah.
I kind of figured it'd be more of like a tacked on co-op, like some of the, like Mario Odyssey and some of the newer games have, where it's like, oh, it's cool if they have like a younger kid to hand them a controller and they have some agency, but this is allowing you to do more than just throw some star bits at the screen,
Yeah. Way more interactive.
It's pretty cool. The only thing I'll say is like there were definitely times where like you split up and like do something only as Luigi and like the other person's just like standing there like totally not even on the screen at times. But whatever, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Other than my nephew was like, where am I? I'm like, oh, hold on a second.
Let me go flip the switch.
Yeah, it was sweet. But that game is really good too.
I played it a little bit when it came out, of course.
Same.
Yeah.
Same here. I didn't get too far, and we actually made a little more progress. So
that's awesome.
I'm juiced. Yeah, the first like half hour we were playing, we were like looking everywhere, all over this one floor, and I'm like, I just don't know where to go, man. I think we got to play something else. And I looked at the objective again, and I was just like, yeah, it just says explore the shops. I'm like, I'm looking everywhere. I don't see any shops on this floor. And like I just assumed that the floor that like I picked up the save file where I left off, so I assumed I was on the floor that I needed to be on.
No.
And then I went into the elevator and looked at the maps on like the floors, and like the third floor says shops or like whatever it's called. And I was like, oh my god! So we've been playing for 45 minutes, looking for nothing. So then we started making a little headway.
Nice,
but yeah, I guess I'll probably just save it for the cast then. But it's awesome. Definitely highly recommended. The presentation, the polish is like really cool. Like we were just getting up to like a first like boss kind of thing, and like locked himself away. So we found like 3 of the 4 keys, and I'm assuming after we do whatever is behind the 4th key, we'll get like the key that we need to get into the boss area. So I'm excited. But yeah, every time the ghost came around, he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, just hit the vacuum button. But yeah. Little less satisfying though than playing on the GameCube with those triggers on there. That suction just felt so good. For everything, for Mario Sunshine, for I shouldn't say for everything, because I was just playing another game the other day that I actually just talked about on the Save It for the Cast. This game, Asteroid Drift, and I was using my 8-bit controller that basically has like the same kind of triggers that like a PS4 controller has, where it's like. Or I'm assuming PS5, where they kind of have like a like spring to them, I guess.
Yeah.
And like it was meant that was the only button that this like thrust was mapped to, but in the like the gameplay of this game, you were kind of meant to like keep tapping it, really quickly, or at least the way I wanted to play, to like really feather it to stay at one elevation, and like fly around. So it was really hard. Like it was really getting really tiring to have to do that with that spring feedback. I was like, I really want to remap this to like just a button that I can keep mashing on. But also another cool game.
I just prefer the squishier triggers myself.
What do you mean by squishy?
Like GameCube analog-y style that way comparatively.
Yeah, I definitely love that like two tier on the GameCube. You got that big spring and then you can click it down.
Xbox 360 also had kind of that, right?
They were sort of...
They were triggers.
They didn't click in,
the triggers
I don't
felt
think,
good,
but yeah, they were more like a trigger, though. Yeah. Especially
like the
for,
triggers.
like, if you were playing, like, a FPS or something,
Yeah, they're just, like, thin, which, like...
Made for that.
Yeah. Or, like, narrow.
Yeah, they're kind of more like an actual trigger, yeah.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is this new thing, this light gun thing called G apostrophe AIM apostrophe E, and it's it was a Kickstarter thing, of course, and so I've got one of the more premium co-op packages of that. I'm going to talk about my initial experiences because I just got that.
Nice.
I think on Monday. So been messing
I might
around
have
with
actually
it.
heard about this on a different podcast. The name doesn't sound familiar, but I heard about some kind of light gun thing that like works on modern TVs. So
Oh, these
I'm very
look
curious
nice.
if this is what it is.
Yeah.
These look real nice.
Oh, you got one right there.
Came with
Yeah.
a pretty solid gun here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got all kinds
that's
of
really nice.
buttons.
Are they both
extra
the same
buttons.
color?
Yeah, I wish the other one was the opposite color, but yeah.
I know. I was just gonna say if they did the
Yeah.
blue and orange, like
I
the
know.
classic, like Time Crisis or whatever.
Yeah, which this is actually
that would have been awesome.
comes with Time Crisis and is branded with Time Crisis
Oh,
on the actual
sick.
gun, and it
Oh,
came
that's
with
awesome.
pedal as well for the
Oh,
sake of Time
fuck
Crisis.
Ooh. Hell yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's freaking amazing.
yeah.
Damn, son.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah. No,
gonna
this
talk
looks
about it.
Cool.
I'm gonna
I'm
talk
juiced
about
to
it.
hear about this. I'm juiced to hear about this. Might have something to add to my Christmas list here.
Could talk about other things, but I'll talk about that. Basically,
No, that sounds great.
I realized besides the holiday episode, I'll probably be talking about novel hardware things for the next probably 3 recordings that we have.
I love that, man. I
Tis
love
the
that.
season for it, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff. Like every time that you bring up something like this, I'm like, God damn it! This was not even on my radar, but this is the coolest thing.
And I'm just such a sicko for light gun stuff in particular. It is known.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I will get into it. I'm saving details and thoughts for then.
Yeah.
I got all my like Switch games that I ordered the other day that were on sale in the mail.
Nice.
I ordered another copy. For whatever reason, I couldn't like return it or exchange it of the Plucky Squire. It was kind of like smashed up a little bit. It, like wouldn't, I could return it, but like it wouldn't let me exchange it. But they still had it in stock. Like sometimes it does that when they're like if they're sold out of it on sale, like if they ran out, then it won't let you exchange it obviously because they don't have it in stock. But they still had it, so I was like, I'm just going to order another copy and hope it comes better.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It's like that's the one thing that comes in like a box that can get smushed, and they shipped it in an envelope. And
Of
then
course.
my other package came in a box that was all padded and with a bunch of shit. I was like, oh my God, why didn't the same person pack this? But yeah, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's bad enough to be like. And then of one of the other ones, I'm being like, I think I'm just gonna open it because I'm being like a lunatic. It's like right at like the top. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Randall or John, but I think Randall's a little more of a lunatic like me when it comes to this stuff. Like where like the very tip top of a label of a game or the bottom will be like just a little bit like.
Outside of the plastic.
Not even that in this
Oh.
case. It's like almost just like a little bit like rubbed off. So you can see like just a tiny bit of like white at like the top of the label. And like I can see that on the copy of Dwarve. I'm like looking at it every time. I'm like, does that bother me enough? And I'm looking at some of my other games. I'm like, I see it on some of my other games. Like it's even on my copy of Wind Waker on the GameCube. I'm like, I can't be that much of a lunatic, man. It's just like not that big of a deal.
I
I
understand.
got a game
now.
for $15, you know.
But it
It's
was
just
always
like when you
the-
buy it
the
new, you're just
philosophy.
I bought this new.
You bought
Yeah.
it new. You're owning it physically, and that's part of the value of owning it physically is you're trying to get it in a condition that's new.
And especially new. It's like I can
represents it.
kind of like I can kind of like settle for like if I find a used copy and I can be like, it's not great, but like, man, this game's hard to find. I never come across this. Like, you know, I can settle for snagging it. But when I buy it brand new, I want it to be new.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could get a like 1-to-1 recreation print of it on like whatever type of paper it's on, like get it printed somewhere and then replace it or like put it over it like a dust cover, like not even actually replace it, but just like put something over it that is essentially the exact same thing, but you still have the original one that you bought it with.
I mean, I've even thought about going as far as like it's so razor thin that I've thought about like taking it into work and like breaking it out on the paper cutter and just like slicing it. But because like the way those like, you know, they're in the case, so they're like kind of bent. It's not just like a totally flat thing. I was like, I feel like it would cut a little bit off, and I was like, I'm not going to risk that. I actually didn't think about that until I just started saying.
Yeah, you would have to like flatten it out. I'm not going
to risk that.
Opposite first to like get that sucker
like
pretty
cut it
flat.
On the other side, and like and I'm just like, that's just too much work for me. It's like so many. Like if you guys saw that, I think even you, Randall, would be like, oh my god, like I would open that.
I understand that.
Plucky Squire, on the other hand, especially because it's like the deluxe edition. It's like the outer box is like smashed on the corners. It's
that's different.
Man. When you got the soft like outer box.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
So I'm sure everything inside is fine, but
it's tarnished.
And I should have bought the PS5 version. I'm still like kind of mad, but apparently like it'll update to like this Switch 2 version or upgrade that like runs much smoother. That's like almost 60 frames per second smooth the whole time and runs a lot better. But I'm like, well, PS5 was just that way the whole time, even if they've made some updates to the game. I was like, maybe I should have just bought the PS5 version, but
depends on if you're gonna do it handheld.
That's what I figured, and I was just like, I feel like it just feels more like a Nintendo-y game.
Yeah.
And I know people didn't even love that game. It didn't get quite the reviews that I was like hoping it would, because it looked, when they first announced that game, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be like one of the best games ever. And it kind of got pretty middling reviews. Apparently it's real hand-holdy and stuff.
I had that decision today. I've been following the development of this tactics game, Demon School, by Necrosoft, and I was like, should I buy it on PC if I know I'm going to get this Steam machine next year? And like maybe like that seems like the home platform. But then I saw it was out on Switch too as well, and you know, being a multiple tens of hours sort of experience, like maybe I should just get it on the platform that I can do quasi portably.
Yeah,
call it there, see how it runs.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be overly, because even one of the other games I bought physically is that game Cocoon from Annapurna, and it's like from the Limbo and Inside devs, or at least some of the people that worked on those games. And I know like apparently on Switch it didn't run great, but I heard like on Switch 2 it at least just runs like solid 30 frames per second now, and there's like really no hitches or anything, even in the parts that used to. So I was like, you know what? I'm sure, again, PS5, but they didn't have it on sale, or it wasn't, you know, they're out of stock of it or whatever. And I was like, man, $15 for a game that physical copy for digitally, I think it's normally $25 or $30. So I was like, well, if you can get a physical copy of a game for less than it costs digitally, I'm just gonna buy it.
And it's that time of year for that to definitely be the case pretty often.
Yeah. Like that Dwarf game is normally $20 and it was on sale for $15. I got the Messenger, which I already own digitally, but I was like $15 for a physical copy.
I saw that too. I was like, oh.
And it comes with that DLC too, which I think was a free DLC anyways, but they, you know, it's got a sticker on there that it comes with like the whatever it's called, Picnic Panic or whatever.
Yeah.
Beach, it's some beach theme thing. I know, but Paradise Panic or something. But yeah, it's like I already own this game, so I don't know why I'm buying it again.
That's what we do.
I'm just gonna do it.
Yep, I'm looking at the Steam sale, and there's a bunch of Square Enix titles that I'm like, I don't really need to buy this game again, but 60% off.
I know when they go cheap enough.
Get it on your Steam Deck.
Yeah, when they go cheap enough. It's just like I gotta stop doing this, especially with the digital stuff that's just gonna disappear one day. Although I was shocked when I was able to re-download software on my Wii the other day. I was like, this is insane.
Nice.
Yeah. A little unexpected.
This is insane. Because for whatever reason, I can't copy or transfer anything off of my SD card onto my like system memory, and it won't let me boot any games off of my SD card.
Oh.
At least on my Wii U. I don't know if it's something to do with like using, like if it's formatted to the Wii U, and it's, I don't know, but it like has all my stuff on there, but I can't boot it, I can't transfer it, I can't copy it, I can't do anything with it.
I
than
remember like the
probably erase it.
transfer process of my Wii data onto my Wii U being like, this is irreversible.
Yeah,
like you can't
one-way
do
street.
That.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That was a cool process though, with all the Pikmin like carrying all your data over.
Yeah.
That was actually sweet. But yeah, I can't. So I was like, oh man, do I just have no access to any of this stuff that I bought anymore? And I like saw the Wii Shop channel thing just right there, so I clicked on it and it booted up, and I was like, what the heck? Then I went to and it like went to download titles you own, and I was like, okay, I can just re-download anything. It still works.
Well, at least you had that workaround that way. That's good.
Yeah, I'm shocked that server is like still up and supported.
Yeah.
I don't know what Mega Man game it's from, but somebody on a podcast I was listening to about Mega Man the other day, they were playing one of the clips with like this voice acting.
Oh, yeah.
It was unbelievable. Like I don't know what character this was, but they basically sounded like Elmer Fudd. They're like, oh, and Dr. Wiley, Dr. Wiley over there. And I was like, oh my God. And they were literally flubbing their lines like, and then like going back and repeating it, and they didn't edit it out. Like, they just used. They're like, oh, and Dr. I mean Dr. Wiley.
I think it's Dr. Light in Mega Man. I want to say Mega Man 8. I want to say
it's one of those. Yeah, I think it was one of the ones on PlayStation. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh my God,
they did not give a shit about quality control. It's like, gamers aren't. They were just video games aren't.
We have voices. We have voices in the game.
Like, that was all over the early CD stuff too. Like the PC Engine CD and Sega CD era was all that practically. Yeah, it was some amazing performances in there.
Yeah, as soon as they could get anything clearer than double dribble.
Yeah,
they were exactly. Like, oh, we gotta maximize this.
Good luck.
That's like one of my favorite things though. Those like muffled voice tracks.
Oh my God, the cartridge talked.